Well, kia ora and welcome everybody to this week's devotion. So later today, Monday, we will be finding out about level changes and what that might mean for us for the rest of the week and beyond. So look out for our 2-minute update, which will be coming out tomorrow. Today, I just want to bring a quick thought, a continuing theme around what has our focus right now, and again, how important it is, especially in the season which we're in, to ensure that our eyes, our gaze, is firmly fixed on Jesus, the author and the perfecter of our faith. So I'm calling this mini message, Come Up Here. Come Up Here. Well, yesterday for Father's Day, my eldest daughters and I, we climbed the hill that's down the road from our house. We kept on walking up this fairly steep track until it came to a platform, and it revealed this incredible view which we could see right out over Nelson Bays and over towards the Boulder Bank. And we stood there for a few minutes and just took the view in, and we talked about the different things that we could see and how different everything looked from this higher perspective. In Revelation chapter 4, John, the writer of Revelation, is describing this heavenly vision that he'd had. And it says in verse 1 of chapter 4, "After these things I looked, and behold, a door standing open in heaven. And the first voice which I heard was like a trumpet speaking with me, saying, 'Come up here, and I will show you things which must take place after this.'" Over in Revelation chapter 11 verse 12, we see the same phrase again. It says, "And then they heard a loud voice from heaven saying to them, 'Come up here.'" Again, if you go right back to the Old Testament, to Exodus chapter 24, the same phrase comes up again. It says, "Then the Lord instructed Moses, saying, 'Come up here to me.'" It's a phrase that is used a lot in the scriptures, and I believe especially today for us, it's an invitation for us to see things with a different perspective. We know that His ways are much higher than our ways, and so to get His point of view, to get His perspective, we will have to come up to a higher place. Colossians chapter 3, a passage we looked at last devotion, it says that we're to set our affection, set our minds on things above, not on earthly things. We're to be mindful of the things in heaven. There's an old expression that goes something like this: do not be so heavenly minded that you're of no earthly good. And I guess it's a warning to keep our heads from living in the clouds or something. But what if we are actually guilty of doing the opposite, of being so earthly minded that we're of no heavenly good? What if our focus is too much on the things around us that we actually end up losing the perspective of what God is doing above us? There's a story of John Wesley, the great revivalist who founded the Methodist movement. He was said to have his head firmly stuck in heaven. He traveled, apparently John Wesley, 250,000 miles on horseback during his ministry lifetime. He preached 40,000 to 50,000 sermons. He produced hundreds of pieces of literature. And at the age of 83, it was said he was angry with his doctor because he wouldn't allow him to preach more than 14 times a week. At the age of 86, he wrote these words in his journal: "Laziness is slowly creeping in. There is an increasing tendency to stay in bed after 5:30 a.m. in the morning." People with their head in heaven usually end up changing the earth for the better. They usually make a far bigger difference down here. And so this invitation to come up here is not so that we can just glide over all of life's problems in some spiritual hovercraft. It's not so that we can just avoid all the realities of life and responsibility down here. But it's in order that we might be better empowered with His perspective to overcome things down here. It's so that we can bring heavenly solutions to the earth and be more effective. In Matthew chapter 17, and I'll begin to wrap this up, Jesus leads some of the disciples, Peter, James, and John, up onto a high mountain. And on this mountain, Matthew says that Jesus was actually transfigured or transformed before them. His face shone like the sun, and it says his clothes became as white as the light. Bright cloud covered them, and a voice from that cloud said, "This is my Son whom I love and whom I am well pleased. Listen to what he has to say." But I love how Peter responds to everything that he's just seen. It says in chapter 4 of Matthew 17, Peter turns to Jesus and he says, "Lord, it is good for us to be here. It is good for us to have come up here with you." In other words, this is the place up here where we belong. I encourage you this week to take some time to accept this invitation to come up here, to get His perspective, to get His empowerment. You will be much better off. And maybe today as I close, you're watching this and you don't have a relationship with God. The good news is that love came down. Love came down in the form of Jesus, who laid down His life for us that we might have life. And so if you've never experienced His love today, I encourage you, ask Him to reveal Himself to you. We'd also love to hear from you. Get in touch with us either here on Facebook, or you can email us church@aspirechurch.org.nz. Have a great week. God bless.